sizes and different characters, so you had this really great sort of contrast. And for a while, it felt like it was kind of, we were seeing the same sorts of things. And now I feel like we're getting back into, hey, cool, you know what? Not everyone has to look alike. You know what? Kevin Owens, he's doing just fine. And he's entertaining, and we like to watch him. And he's a good wrestler. And he had great matches with Sami Zayn, who's another person I enjoy watching very much, who, of course, is very charismatic. And, you know, one of those guys you just want to cheer, just based on his personality, which shines through. You know, and so it's nice that we're sort of breaking away from this idea of what the ideal wrestler has to look like or has to be like, and just saying, hey, wow, you know what? There's all this talent out here. Wow, this guy's really talented. He's really good at capturing the fans, or he's really good at interacting and getting a reaction. You know, hey, this is the guy we should kind of be looking at. You know, this is the guy we should be giving a chance to. We should be taking that ability and that talent and harnessing it. And so it's a nice change. And I don't know if that's brought on about because of Triple H. It almost feels like it, just looking at NXT and things. And that, honestly, that's a good thing. If it's his influence, that's a great thing. I'm not a big fan of him as a wrestler, oddly, but I really like some of his philosophies in terms of booking and promoting. Really good stuff. Again, these great changes. You know, and also, too, something else they're doing is they're really jumping on more indie talent. It used to be back in the day, like, for example, in the 80s, a lot of the big guys who were in the WWF, we're talking like Hulk Hogan, or managers iconic like Bobby Heenan and such, came from the AWA, Minnesota. So, you know, they were taken from there. You know, and for a while, you know, that wasn't the practice. It was, we're going to grow our own. And what they're finding is we're kind of going back to this sort of, hey, let's look at these other big kind of companies. And back then, AWA was territories. Now it's independent companies. But, hey, you know what? Let's see, you know, why make a star if there's already one out there that we can use, and maybe, you know, just train them to adapt to the style and kind of maybe smooth it out for TV and work with them like that. So now we're sort of moving to seeing guys from the independent scene who are really talented and really great being picked up, rather than sort of just, you know, they're not missing the boat. Now they're quick to pick them up. People like Cedric Alexander, who was just amazing against Ibushi. I was just blown away with that match. It was so great for the Cruiserweight Classic. You know, now they're not waiting for these guys. They're like, okay, you know what? We're going to take you now. I think they sort of learned the lesson from Daniel Bryan. I think when they signed him, they weren't expecting him to be what he is, and that's so popular and so, you know, appreciated and so really resonating with the fans, really starting a movement, you know, and fan reactions and things like that. And I think they kind of waited too long for him. I think they had gone maybe 2 or 3 years, you know, earlier. I think they would have gotten the same kind of quality, and it would have been the same thing, and he would have been great, and they would have had more time with him. You know, now hit with his neck, there's no way. You know, and I think they realized their mistake in sort of holding off. So now they're not doing that so much, and that's also a good thing. It's kind of bad for us who are indie fans. We don't get to see the people that we enjoy up close so much anymore, or as often. But again, it's a good thing to see them on TV so everyone can enjoy it and watch it. You know, so I love this idea of moving back to variety and going back to the sort of independent things. And I just love that. You know, and these different kinds of wrestlers. And I do see inspiration from, like, different periods, but they're not copying. Like, I'm sorry, when I look at Big Cass and Enzo, I see Shawn Michaels and Diesel. I just do. Not just the size difference, but the attitudes. You know, Enzo sort of having that Shawn Michaels sort of hyperness, you know, and then Big Cass being kind of laid back, you know, kind of, all right, cool. You know, everything's good, you know, sort of more like that relaxed swagger. They just have that. They're not trying to be Shawn Michaels and Diesel, not at all. But you could see that little inspiration there, and it's really great to watch, and it's a joy to watch, you know. And again, it's something I talked with last week. I talked with Eric Viking from Pro Wrestling Explosion, and last week he talked about this a little bit. We was talking about what PWE is. And he talked about this a little more extensively in the first interview we did together about how PWE is like a variety show and how he had all these different kinds of wrestlers and he wanted to see them put up in matches to see what would happen. And I feel like WWE, that's kind of what we're seeing right now. Our guys being thrown together in different kinds of matches. You know, we're seeing like how these things are sort of working together. Like, and it's interesting how the roles are changing. Like, Cena's no longer the top guy, but, you know, he's kind of more helping, like, working with the young guys, kind of breaking them in, almost putting them over. But, like, his sort of experience, you know, and seeing him against, like, AJ Styles, they had great matches, and I really enjoyed them. So it's kind of fun to see. Something that normally you would have seen a few years ago. So again, good changes. Wrestling is definitely, well, unfortunately, some of the wrestlers that we love, are passing away. Wrestling itself is still living on. I think it's very appropriate now, then, and forever. Very, very appropriate on the WWE's part, because it certainly seems like wrestling is going to go on forever. And isn't going anywhere soon, and that's a really good thing for everybody. Not just people who are involved in it, but fans. I mean, we're all fans at heart, and that's really the most important thing. So I'm going to go to commercial. When I come back, I'm going to talk about, there are 2 big events this weekend I'm going to mention real quick, and then I'm going to thank everybody, kind of close up shop. But I am interested in hearing from you guys. What do you think about wrestling changing? And some of these changes I was talking about, changes in how we're using international stars, independent stars, sort of this idea of, going back to variety in characters, but not caricatures. So I'm very curious to see what you guys notice as far as trends and changes in wrestling, and maybe what you think about those. So I'm definitely want to hear from you guys on Twitter and on Facebook, and I'm going to post these kind of questions up on Facebook for you guys to respond to. But first we're going to commercial, and then we're going to come back with, talking about some of the big events this weekend.
The following announcement has been paid for by the New World Order.
This is the hardcore icon, Just Incredible, and you're listening to Damage 365 Radio. Now that's not just the coolest, that's not just the best. Damage 365 Radio, now that's just incredible.
Wrestling Superstores, selling wrestling memorabilia from all around the world, including WWE, TNA, Japan, Mexico, and the very best of the independents. They've got action figures, DVDs, autographed memorabilia, t-shirts, and more. Plus, stop in and get tickets for great promotions like UWA Elite, CZW, and many others. Located indoors at the world-famous English Town Flea Market, Green Building, booth number 35 on 90 Wilson Avenue, Manalapan Township, New Jersey. Open every Saturday and Sunday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Log on to Facebook.com/Funkenstein Inc. for more information.
Join Brandon Lewis and Christopher Scythe Bracey every Tuesday night on YouTube.com/2KW at 8:30 p.m. as they bring you the matches and moments that make 2KW Pro the heart of New York City. 2KW Pro, your company, your wrestling.
This is Jim the Anvil Neidhart, and you're listening to Damaged Radio 365. Yeah, baby!
The following announcement has been paid for by the New World Order.
Welcome back, and thank you again to our sponsors, because they help the network happen, they help this show happen. So definitely check those out. And as I mentioned, there are actually 2 big events this weekend in independent wrestling going on, depending on what coast you're on. On the East Coast, it is Chikara's King of Trios. Notable because the Sendai Girls, who have not been around for a number of years, are actually going to be returning. And then if you're on the West Coast, it is PWG's Battle of Los Angeles. The big news there being that Cody Rhodes, it was on his list of things he wanted to do after leaving WWE, and it's happening. So Cody Rhodes will be there and competing in the tournament. So definitely some things to watch out for as far as results and different happenings going on. Huge events. And also, too, don't forget, not a huge event, not indie wrestling, but also, too, tomorrow's the Cruiserweight Classic. It's moving on. I've been enjoying it so much since the first round. I felt like the first round, a lot of those matches, it was kind of obvious who was going to win. You could kind of see the mismatches. You can kind of see, like, where people were falling on the spectrum, where you could tell guys who had more experience and more training, versus guys who were maybe a little more inexperienced. Relatively new, and I pretty much agreed with every match. There was only one person that I really liked that I thought should have moved on and didn't, and it kind of goes against Daniel Bryan, but it was Raul Mendoza. He took on Brian Kendrick in the first round, and I really liked Raul Mendoza, and he really captured my attention. I was really interested in seeing more from him, so I'm really sad that he didn't move past the first round, but I mean, now that we're into the quarterfinals and the semis and whatnot, the match has been fantastic. Just absolutely amazing. And I'll tell you, Ibushi and Cedric Alexander was just absolutely fantastic. Really emotional. And of course, the bit at the end with Alexander and Triple H, that I will admit I teared up for him. I just did. It was such a great emotion. It's just a great moment after such an awesome match. Definitely amazing stuff. So, just really great things that I'm really enjoying watching as it rolls on, and we're kind of getting to the end. I'm a little sad the end is coming, but I'm looking forward to good things on Raw with the Cruiserweight division. So, well, we've kind of come to the end. I wanted to make this 15 minutes, and apparently I'm not capable, unless I have a script, of talking for just 15 minutes. So we're trying for 30. I guess I'm just not capable of doing it. I guess there's just so much to say, and there's wrestling is this great thing where there's just such an emotion, and I feel like when I watch it, there's a lot of emotion for me. I've been watching for so long, and it really captured that I can't help but talk about it for a while. I just can't help it. It's something I enjoy talking about, and I haven't been writing as much as I had been in the past, but I do enjoy writing about it, and I did enjoy doing the regular podcast, so I'm glad to be back doing that. I'm definitely interested in hearing your thoughts about the changes wrestling has gone through and some of the things we talked about before the break. Like I said, I'll put those up on Facebook, on my Facebook, which is Babs Indie. That's BABS. And then Indie, INDIE, is my last name. I've not been caught by the Facebook police yet, knocking on wood. That I won't. But I definitely want to hear your thoughts on that. And if you were interested in the format, again, I thought about doing just news and reporting the news. But when I sat down to do it, I was bored. And instead, I just wanted to talk about things that I had thought about, with Mr. Fuji passing away and whatnot. Just some different things that kind of passed through my head, just some notes I had written down about things that came up. I thought that would be far more interesting than just reporting the news. Although there is a lot of news, and there always will be a lot of news. And that's interesting in itself. But hey, there's news on ESPN, and honestly, I would love to see ESPN expand their wrestling section to include larger independents like Ring of Honor and such. But I really wanted to talk about what I was thinking, what I was feeling. That's what wrestling is. It's about emotion, and so I really wanted to kind of talk about those things. But I'd like to hear your comments on that too. If you thought it was a good idea, if you'd rather hear news, at events or just pure interviews, I'd love to hear about that too. So again, in closing up, I want to thank Damage 365 Radio for allowing us to have time on the network and be a part of the network. Also too, I want to thank Funkenstein Wrestling Superstore. You can find them at www.funkensteinwrestlingsuperstore.com. And then you can also find them. They have a physical location in the Blue Building in the Englishtown Flea Market. They have expanded, so definitely check it out. They have so much cool stuff. All kinds of things, from figures to DVDs, from Japan to Mexico to Canada to Europe, everywhere. Just amazing. So if you're looking for something wrestling related, they probably have it. So I definitely would check them out. And I definitely want to say happy birthday to Dan, a friend of mine, and one of the owners of and the owner of Funkenstein Wrestling Superstore. So it's his birthday today. So happy birthday, Dan. And also too, I want to say over the weekend, Change the World Wrestling had their event for cystic fibrosis. So I just wanted to say I heard it was a success. I wasn't able to make it, unfortunately. But I wanted to say congratulations to Colin West and everyone there at CTW that made that happen, because I just heard really great things. So I'm glad that was a success and very helpful. So next week, I'm going to be back. It's going to be Tuesday, September 6th. So that will be next Tuesday. I can't believe it's already September 6th. I can't believe September is really just 2 days away. It feels like the summer just flew by. But I'll be back here at 9 p.m. Eastern. So definitely look for the updates on that. So again, thanks everyone for listening. Your support means a whole lot. And I'm looking forward to talking with you about these things and hearing your thoughts about wrestling and changes and various things like that. And maybe how wrestlers' deaths, how maybe there was someone that passed that really affected you and really made you feel something and just kind of hit you in a certain way. So I'd love to hear about that too. So everyone, again, thank you for listening and have a great night. This is Babs. I'm signing off.